I'm Bill from CJ Pony Parts.
And I'm Freddy with CJ Off-Road.
This is the 2018 F-150 we built for the Ford display at this year's SEMA show. Now, because of the rules of SEMA, we weren't allowed to actually show you this truck until we were done with it.
We've actually done a ton of work to this truck, including these Bushwacker Fender Flares, so today we're going to show you how we installed them. These Bushwacker Fender Flares were made right here in the USA of high-quality Dura-Flex material that resists cracking, chalking, and warping. They're designed to easily install onto the fenders for an additional 1.5 inches of tire coverage for those larger tires. They have a simulated riveted design, and they fit all cabin bed configurations, and they can even be painted to match the truck. Tools you'll need for this installation: 5.5mm socket, 1/4 inch ratchet, T45 Torx bit, a 3/8 ratchet, 1/2 inch wrench, and a Phillips screwdriver. Before we get started with installing the flares, we're going to apply this trim to the flare so it doesn't scratch the paint. Peel off some of the red backing on the tape and install this trim onto the flare. You're going to work this all the way down the flare. Just keep working it and press on it to make sure it stays, and just do this for the entire flare. So we have the trim applied to the upper portion of the flare, and this will protect the paint when we go to install it. Now we're going to flip it over and make it look good by installing the hardware in these pockets. Install a bolt and washer on the outside of the flare, and on the other side, install the nylon nut. Once you get all the nuts and bolts installed, you can tighten them with a 1/2 inch wrench and a T45 Torx bit, which is supplied. We're about to install the flares, but before we do, we're going to remove all the hardware from the inner fender liner. Okay, with all the screws removed, we're going to place our flare against the truck. We're going to line it up to where it would be on the truck when it's fully installed. Locate this hole right here on the fender flare, and then mark it. Locate one of the 3M pads that comes with the kit and pull the backing off of it. You're going to place this pad right over where you just put this mark and fold it over the metal on the fender. This is to protect your paint from getting scratched when we install the clips. Grab one of the tabs in the kit and install it over the pad that you just installed. When the flare goes on, it will attach to this clip with a screw. Each front flare has this bracket that gets installed to the truck so the flare can mount to it. You need to install these 3 clips on each bracket. Install the 3rd clip, and now this can be installed onto the truck. We're going to take this bracket and line it up with the factory slots right here, and back here. We're going to install it with the factory screws. All 3 screws are secured on the inner bracket right here, and now it's time to install the flare. You're going to secure the flare to the inner bracket with the 3 Phillips head screws. We have the flare attached to the inner bracket. Now we can install a screw right here on this clip that you previously installed. Install the 2 factory screws on the bottom as well. The final step in installing the front flares would be install these 2 factory screws right here, but we don't have the front of the truck installed, so we can't install the screws, so now we're going to move on to the rear. We're at the back of the truck now. We're ready to install the rear fender flares. And the first thing we're going to do, just like the front, is install these 3M pads along the fender right here. Locate the holes in the fender, and that's where you're going to put these rubber pads. Line them up nice and center over the hole. and wrap it around. Over each rubber pad that you installed, install a clip. Right on the bottom of the front rear fender right here, where this factory hole is, you're going to peel off the backing to one of these Mylar tabs and install this onto the paint so that you do not mess your paint up. Make sure your surface is clean before installing it, and then you can install one of these S tabs over that Mylar tab. Place the flare onto the rear fender, line it up with all the tabs, install the screw onto the tabs that you just installed on the fender. Install the push pin on the bottom rear of the flare. Last thing you have to do on the rear fender flare is install the screw into the S-clip. Do the same thing on the other side, and then our installation is finished. Okay, our Bushwacker fender flares are installed. They're really making this truck come together nicely. I'm loving the way they look, but as you can see, we still have some things we need to finish up front. You'll need about 2 to 3 hours to do this install, and before you know it, you'll be heading off-road.